Hello, everyone. It's Sibyl Star. I'm here to give the astrology forecast for the upcoming week. Another exciting Leo week, lots of Leo energy. So first off, we have, and of course, we have the full moon. We have Pluto square the nodes. And we still have Venus retrograde. She just went retrograde and she's very, very powerful. So we're going to be talking about all of that as well as the moon and her signs and aspects. All right, so to begin with, the sun is in Leo until July 22nd. The sun is traveling through from about 9 degrees to about 15 degrees, something like that. Maybe 14 degrees, right? I think it's 14 degrees. Okay, so anyway, Leo is the archetype of the divine child as well as the king and the queen. They're both there. Leo asks for a celebration of life, to follow our joy and our passion. Leo is the ultimate sign of creativity as it is ruled by the sun, which is our life force, our spirit, and our divine spark. Leo always says, let your light shine. In Leo, the sun is proud, outgoing, and playful. And the Leo sun really likes to be seen, recognized, and noticed. Like I said, let your light shine. And it says to add a touch of color and drama to your lives. It's also the sign of the entertainer and the performer. But when Leo, so when the sun is in Leo, and and here in the northern hemisphere, it's really the last month of summer, and it's when the sun is really at its strongest. And so go out and make sure you enjoy this month of Leo. All right. Leo also too, when the sun is in Leo, we're also more generous and grand in our attitudes and our gestures. Now, on the shadow side, Leo can be self-centered, wanting all the attention. That is a shadow of Leo, is that uh, doing whatever one needs to do to get attention, to be the attention seeker. And so that's why it's important to bring it into your conscious awareness so that you can, use it in your highest good. All right. And it can be vain and overly dramatic. Leo is known for drama. And I would say, on one hand, it makes one a great entertainer because it makes everything bigger than life. But on the other side, in our personal lives, adding drama in our lives can be a challenge. And Leo's also known for playing to the crowd. What it means giving people what they want instead of who they are. And when we know we're acting, then it can be a real gift. But if we don't know we're acting, or we're not conscious that we're acting, we don't really show our authentic selves. Now we have this week, we have, this is, I should have said that at the beginning, this is the week of August 31st, July 31st to August 6th. And so anyway, so we have Black Moon Lilith in Leo, who and it also tells us that if we want others to love us, we must first love ourselves. Now we are on August 1st, the second day of this week, we have the Aquarius full moon. And I'm going to show that to you here. All right, here we go. Okay, so here we've got the Aquarius full moon. We have the sun and the moon at 9 degrees 15 minutes. The moon is at 9 degrees 15 minutes of Aquarius, opposite the sun at 9 degrees 15 minutes of Leo. And this happens, my ephemeris is sometimes a minute off. This is really the August, most of the ephemerises say August 1st, 11:32 a.m. in California. Okay, or our Pacific time is what I work with. So anyway, we've got the sun and the moon, and they're also in a square to Jupiter. So, and then we have Venus. She's over here at 26 degrees of Leo. She's still in a yod with Pluto and Neptune. We're going to talk about that. Let's see what else we're talking about. Okay, we've got the nodes of the moon. Pluto is in an exact square. The exact square was on July 25th, but they're both at 28 degrees. Here's Pluto at 28 degrees of Capricorn, comes down and it squares the north node at 28 degrees of Aries, opposite the south node at 28 degrees of Libra. Okay, so that is in play, and that is actually it's really intense now, but I'm going to say it's in play through November. Okay. We also have Jupiter in a trine to Mars, and we have actually at the exact degree, just a few minutes off, and the same thing with Mercury opposite Saturn, both at 5 degrees. Mercury's 5 degrees of Virgo, and Saturn is at 5 degrees of Pisces. All right, so let's see. I think that's all we're going to be talking about. All right, well, let us talk about what all of that actually means. All right, so the full moon in Aquarius. What is the meaning of that? Well, of course, we know the full moon is always the let's say the culmination of the new moon, and the new moon was in Cancer, and it was so much about affairs of the heart. And so much of this time is about affairs of the heart, our relationships, our connections with others, as well as ourself, okay, and our creativity. But anyway, and at a full moon, we know our emotional bodies are super impacted. It's a very emotional time. And animals respond to the full moon. They howl at the full moon. They feel the energy. It impacts the tides. And they say Mother Earth herself rises 6 inches to meet the full moon. So the full moon has a lot of impact. And this is the first of 4 supermoons. And a supermoon means it's closest to the Earth. So it also has more of an impact. And of course, you can't have a full moon without the sun, because the light of the sun is what the moon is reflecting. The moon has no light of her own. So it's always really an integration of the 2 energies at the full moon. And to me, the Leo Aquarius axis is so much about the light of our genius and how we spread that light in the world, how we touch others with our light. Leo is ruled by the sun, which is the spark of divinity, and in astrology rules the physical heart. And Aquarius is the part of us that recognizes our own genius, and it is the sign that it's about connecting with like-minded others. It's about group energy, how that light is spread through the group. And in the body, Aquarius is one of the planets that rules the circulatory system. So it spreads the life force energy being pumped through the heart, through the blood. Okay. All right. So anyway, but Aquarius asks us to be true to ourselves and to not lose that truth in our attempt to please others. Aquarius is so much about honoring our uniqueness, where we don't fit in, and what is really true for us. To thine own self be true is the Aquarian motto. Whereas Leo, has the light, of the sun, but there can also, like I said, the shadow side is playing to the crowd, giving people what they want instead of what you truly are. So with so much Leo energy in the field, that could happen. So it's just important to be aware of that. And I always love this. One of my teachers one time said this, that the Aquarius Leo axis is so much about the term namaste. And it is the light in me honors the light in you. Leo is the light in each of us, and Aquarius is the light in all of us, and where we connect in that way. And I just recently heard this, and I thought this was real. I have many planets in Aquarius, so I really relate to this. And it says that Aquarius is the sign of friendship, and of course, like-minded groups. It's those with whom we are in the same resonant field, as we might say, on the same wavelength. Okay. And so but it is a sign of friendship, of how we connect with to each other in that way versus a romantic relationship. And I recently read that as we move into the age of Aquarius, our most important connections will be friendships. As we move into the higher frequency vibrations and group consciousness becomes more prevalent, as it is an aspect of unity consciousness. But we must remain true to ourselves, or it becomes a herd mentality instead of unity consciousness. And it's not the same thing at all. Okay. And as I showed you, this full moon is square Jupiter in Taurus, which I feel could absolutely be around healing self-esteem issues, especially in relationship to our creativity. And Aquarius and Jupiter are both big picture, futuristic kinds of visionary. I should say that word, big picture, visionary kinds of energies. And it allows us to vision what can be. Because if we can't vision what can be, we can't go there. And just because something hasn't landed yet, hasn't yet manifest, it doesn't mean that it's not coming. So hold on, for your vision of the future is in progress. Okay. All right. Now, of course, we still have Venus retrograde. Venus retrograde is going to be with us until September 3rd, and even then still in her retrograde zone until October 7th. And this week she's traveling, she's totally traveling from 29 degrees or 28 degrees, 36 minutes to 12 degrees of Leo. So she's really traveling that whole area. So during this time, if you have planets in the fixed signs, especially Leo or Aquarius from 29 to 12 degrees, Venus retrograde may impact you in a stronger way. And of course, Venus only appears to go retrograde. It's an optical illusion. It's a time of reevaluation of our relationships with ourselves and with others, and of beauty in our lives. Okay. And, Venus Aphrodite was a goddess of love and beauty. And I love this part. I read this, and I think I read this in Demetra George's book about asteroids, and it just resonated. She said, Venus is a force of nature. Even the Catholic Church could not get rid of Venus, because she is that feeling of when we are in love. She is that magnetic force that draws us, that draws to us what we want or need. It is more of a magnetism than it is like going after something. It's that force of attraction is Venus. Okay. And anyway, when Venus goes retrograde during part of her cycle, she disappears from the night sky for 40 days and 40 nights, which was the basis of the myth of the descent of Anana, or the descent of the goddess to the underworld. And it's a story of renewal and a regeneration. And when Venus comes along, she's telling us that some things in our lives need to be reevaluated. Okay, because Venus is so much about what we value in life. Is her ultimate meaning is what or whom we value in life. Okay. Ultimately, it's a healing of the heart and all things related, self-love and love of others, and that beauty is soul food for many, not a luxury. Okay. But it is a time to reevaluate our intimate relationships and friendships. Is this what I want? And maybe time to renegotiate the terms of our relationships. Maybe a time to address unresolved issues. Venus retrograde says if you're in a relationship, maybe there's some work here that needs to be done, something that needs to be looked at, so that it can be healed, or it can be worked out, whatever it is. Okay. And reassess our values as well and what we desire. If we're not in a relationship, I should have said that if we're not in a relationship, it might be a good time to get really clear on what it is we do want in a relationship. Kind of like clearing the ground, releasing old relationship patterns, old ways of being in relationship may come into our conscious awareness, so that if there's any unhealthy behaviors or patterns that we have, we can look at those. Okay. And we may discover that we no longer resonate with certain people, with certain friendships, and you were just not on the same wavelength. And that, or that maybe we want a different kind of relationship than what we have had with them. Okay. And those from our past may appear. Can be a very karmic time. Those from our past, from this lifetime or others, with whom we need closure on some level. Okay, we have unfinished business to finish up, and then wish them well and on their way. Okay, and reevaluate what has value in life. How do I value myself, especially in relationship with others? And also, Venus also rules finances. So a reevaluation of our finances is possible. It's not a time to make decisions, where clarity may not come until Venus goes direct again. Now, Venus is in Leo, so she's ruled by the sun, creative fire of spirit that lives within each of us. Venus in Leo tells us to follow our passion and what brings us joy. She's that, what makes us come alive, what makes life worth living. Yeah, it's the sacred life force energy. Venus in Leo was going to ask us, what lights your fire? And if you're depending on others to light it for you, it may not get lit. So it's very much about lighting our inner fire. And when our inner fire is lit, it is contagious and draws others to us through that magnetic energy of attraction. But it tells us to be who you are and feed your own life force energy. And it can come with art, music, spending time with those we love, nature, many things, whatever it is that really feeds your fire. Okay. And it is, Venus rules the heart chakra. And the heart chakra is the gateway of the heart, which leads to higher frequency dimensions. We don't move through to higher frequency dimensions through our mind. It is through our heart. Okay. And the way we treat ourselves and others, and how much, and self-love and love of others. It is the activation of our own divine light that lives in each of our hearts. Venus in Leo is also the archetype of the king or the queen, the woman who knows her worth. And Venus is trine the North Node in Aries, which just changed signs, and which indicates a new beginning with vital life force. What feeds your life force and what drains it? Okay. And I feel like too, it's also asking that question of how can I be in service to the light? And it will show you, how can I be in service to the light? Now, Venus is in a yod for the rest of this week. As she's traveling from 28 to 24 degrees of Leo, she remains in a yod at least part of the week. And so a yod, to me, like I said, works like a paradox. Well, a yod is two planets that are 60 degrees apart, but then each of those planets are 150 degrees. Let me do this differently. I'll just tell you the yod. So in Venus, with Venus retrograde, Venus is the apex point. She is 150 degrees from Pluto and from Neptune, which are 60 degrees apart. And there is like a yod is a finger of fate. It's like Neptune and Pluto are both pointing a finger at Venus. They're coming to the same point. And the apex is the way forward. And so there's a paradox, and Venus shows us how to work with the paradox. And so I feel like what this paradox is about for this Venus retrograde. What a paradox is, it's ideas and statements or things that may appear to contradict each other, and yet they are true. Okay, so it's working with contradictory aspects of ourselves as well as in the world. And I feel like what this is saying is to recognize the beauty and the joy in the world, to allow yourself to enjoy it and to absorb it into your being. This is actually how we raise our frequency, our vibration, and that we are creators of our reality. We can choose to respond from a place with love and to align with beauty and joy. But at the same time, We must acknowledge the pain and suffering that is in the world, and there is a lot of it. They coexist in the same reality and within each one of us. And becoming aware, I have become aware of just how many are leaving the planet suddenly, whether by suicide or other causes. I mean, there is just great grief and great sadness on many levels. And of course, this week we've heard about the whales, you know, two different groups of whales have stranded themselves. And many, one have had, 100 whales on a beach in Australia. And I don't remember the other one where it was, but they were also committing mass suicide. And we are in the middle of the 6th extinction, and many beings are leaving, and a huge amount of grief. And I did ask my guides about the whales, and what I was told is that they are leaving 3D reality, as it is time for them to go. I don't really know what all that means. Hopefully that will get clearer, but they are leaving 3D reality. And so this is a paradox. The yods are paradox, like I said, they are paradox, and they are asking us to keep our hearts open to the suffering and the beauty and the joy, because they are both coexisting. There is so much joy in this world as well, and to open to that, because that's actually how we shift, is through that gateway of our heart and feeling that love, that beauty, that joy. So it's an opportunity to raise our frequency through the gateway of the heart, and we have to keep it open to feel all of it. As they say, the heart's the only way. And ultimately, it is about a healing of the heart through compassion and forgiveness, and the light of the divine that lives in our heart that touches so many others as well. Okay. All right. So, yeah, so that's anyway. And so then we also have this week, Pluto is square the nodes. It's very tight all week. Pluto's at 28 degrees of Capricorn, and it's squaring the Aries Libra axis. And this is going on. Well, this week it's really tight. I mean, the orb gets a little wider and wider, but I'm going to say it's in effect through November. Okay. And the nodes of the moon are about destiny. They're, the North Node is the way forward, or the North Star, and it's in Aries. And Aries is the warrior, the pioneer, who asks for autonomy of self, requires courage, and facing our fears. Whereas the South Node is about the past. That's what we are bringing forward, as well as what needs to be released. And Libra is about the other, developing empathy. But in its shadow, one can lose oneself through compromising who we are in a desire to be liked. It's a very people-pleasing kind of a sign. Okay. And so, but of course, an opposition like that is always, a dance. And I feel like the Aries Libra axis is really the relationship axis. It's about self versus other, and how we do that dance. The North Node, the way forward, is on getting clear on what we want and do not want and claiming it. But how to do that within the context of kindness and empathy for others without compromising who we are. It's about creating a new beginning, and the balance of all opposites, masculine, feminine, doing, being, all of those. But Pluto actually square the nodes is about self-empowerment. But self-empowerment with Pluto comes through being true to ourselves. What is true and authentic for you? Because that is what fills you with life force. Once again, it is showing us what fills us with life force and what drains us. And it's all about choices we make. And that tells us to leave the people pleasing behind. Pluto also brings in purification of the emotional body, where we hold fear and trauma. And, with Pluto always says, you got to feel it to heal it. When Pluto is around, is what it's saying. You got to feel it to heal it. Okay. And you don't even have to know what you're feeling. You just have to let it move through you, because when it gets stuck is when it can repressed emotions can cause illness. And I do want to speak to just the so many suicides, not just of the whales. I'm just hearing about so many different suicides. And as we're at this point, this choice point, Pluto square the nose is a choice point. And it's important to remember that the treatment for depression is antidepressants. And antidepressants have suicidal ideation or suicidal thoughts as a side effect. And, antidepressants keep us from feeling. Now, some people need them, and I'm not saying, people don't sometimes need them, but they are being passed out to just everyone, and they just have terrible side effects. It's really important to be aware of them. And, emotions can build up when we don't feel them. And like I said, cause energy blocks. Okay. And a recent study showed that many who take antidepressants get no relief, and that depression is not a chemical imbalance. So, like I said, it's, when we don't feel our feelings, it keeps us from not only feeling grief and sadness, but also the joy and the higher states of consciousness. It kind of keeps us stuck at that gateway. So I feel like, this is something that just simply needs to be looked at and assessed, um, because there is such a high rate of suicide now. And I know the world is challenging, and I'm not denying that, but I also think the treatment, and we need to start questioning the treatments for it. Okay. All right. Pluto asks for honesty with ourselves and others, as well as forgiveness as we do. And square the nodes, it's asking us to make more empowering choices. And it might be a time to make a course correction in our personal lives and in the collective. Okay. And of course, on a collective level, Pluto is also showing us the deeper levels of corruption. So when our institutions, Pluto in Capricorn has been showing us this. Well, he's going retrograde again. He's going in for a deeper dive. I call him the roto-rooter. He's going the roto-rooting the corruption in our institutions. So as things are getting brought to the surface, we need to have the honesty to look at them so that we can make more empowering choices. Okay. All right. So we also have Mars is in Virgo, trine Jupiter, both at 13 degrees. Mars is our direction. It's action, taking action. And Jupiter is, the great benefic. It brings opportunities. So it feels like there's some opportunities that may be showing up this week. It's kind of like the path is unfolding. There's that old saying, when you step on the path unfolds. So when you take the action, you step on the path will start to unfold. And we'll start to be seeing the practical steps that can start the manifestation process. But, they're both an earth sign. So it's saying keep putting one foot in front of the other, for that is how you make progress, and stay grounded in the present moment. Mercury, the god of the mind, is in Virgo, traveling from 3 to 10 degrees this week, opposing Saturn at 5 degrees. And of course, so this is a very practical, grounded ideas, common sense, good common sense. The key is to not let criticism torpedo your ideas, and to know that everything blooms when the time is ripe, to be patient and plan. All right. Now, what is the moon doing this week? Okay. So on Monday, the moon is in Capricorn. And of course, Capricorn is the sign of work. So, it's Monday. So, you may start off with a lot of work, and become aware of the need for structure and planning ahead. It may be, if you haven't structured your work for the week, you may find that you need to sit down and do that. And that we also become aware of the limitations of time. Moon in Capricorn is very resourceful and doesn't want to waste time on energy or resources or things that really aren't practical. This can also be a very sobering influence, sometimes can even bring a little depression. But no, it's temporary, just like the moon. You will move through it. Okay. Yes, we Sunday, sometimes we feel sad, and sometimes things are challenging, and they really are. But Saturn really encourages us to take a deep breath and to open our heart to to move through those places where we feel contracted. Okay. But it can be a very productive time. Capricorn can really allows us to look reality in the eye and be very productive. It is conjunct Pluto. The moon is conjunct Pluto on Monday, and moon in Pluto requires emotional maturity, owning your stuff. You might see where you made a mistake and you need to correct it, but without beating yourself up. Nothing is gained by that. We all make mistakes. Just being able to look at something and not take it in as something personal. All right. On Tuesday and Wednesday, the moon is in Aquarius, and Aquarius is attracted to all that is new and unusual. Reactions can be more intellectual than emotional. And some people, with the moon in Aquarius, there is I heard someone say that for Aquarians, understanding might be an emotion. And I think it may well be true. Anyway, so and anyway, Aquarius is very it is a good time for brainstorming. If you're working this week, or not, to gather together in some way and brainstorm. And some really great visionary ideas may come through. All right. Thursday and Friday. Oh, one more thing with Aquarius, there is a need for freedom. So kind of have a schedule as a general outline, not that you have to stick closely to it. All right. Thursday and Friday, the moon is in Pisces, which is, of course, very dreamy and impressionable. You might find yourself daydreaming a lot. And to know daydreaming is actually part of the creative process and the manifestation process. It's an important part of it. It can be very sensitive, intuitive, and compassionate time. And it is going to be conjunct Neptune. And so your energy body may be especially sensitive and porous, like a psychic sponge. So it's really important to know what is yours and what is not. And you may feel a need to rescue. And if you do, ask yourself how you can hold space for another's process without taking it on as your own process. Okay. All right. On Saturday and Sunday, the moon is in Aries. And so this might be a time, it's the weekend. You might want to go out and do some adventure sports. Aries, the moon in Aries likes things that are bold, courageous, adventurous. And so it might be a really good time to do that or to start something new. It's always a good time to start something new when the moon is in Aries, because our pioneering Aries impulses are strong. We feel energy, spontaneous, and enthusiastic. Okay. And it may also be kind of impulsive and tactless. To know that's there too. And excess energy is best channeled into physical activity. So it's a great weekend to either, like I said, go out and have fun, or even if you have stuff to do at home, like mowing the grass and all of that, you might just have some excess energy. All right. Well, that's what I see for the week, and wishing you all just a wonderful and blessed week. And if you're interested in a reading, all of my information is down below in the description box. And namaste for the week. Blessings to all. All right.